On September 2, 2012, at approximately 3:40 a.m., in the bustling district of Roppongi, Tokyo, a popular nightclub was filled with the energy of 200 to 300 people. The atmosphere was electric, with patrons dancing and drinking to the thumping rhythm of loud music. The night was alive with celebration, but in the midst of this festive environment, a horrifying and violent crime unfolded in one of the club's VIP rooms. Amidst the pulsating lights and blaring music, an unthinkable act of brutality occurred. A group of about 10 masked assailants suddenly stormed into the VIP room where Ryosuke Fujimoto, a 31-year-old CEO who owned several high-end restaurants, was enjoying his evening. Without warning, the attackers, wielding aluminum baseball bats, brutally assaulted Fujimoto. The attack was swift, vicious, and deadly. Within moments, Fujimoto lay motionless, his life violently taken. Despite the large crowd present in the club, no one intervened during the attack. Many of the patrons, immersed in the music and unaware of the chaos unfolding in the secluded VIP area, only realized the gravity of the situation after the assailants had already fled the scene. The VIP room was dimly lit and somewhat isolated from the main dance floor, which contributed to the delay in recognizing the severity of the incident. The attackers, who appeared to have planned the assault meticulously, quickly exited the club and sped away in a van parked nearby. It is believed that they dispersed in several vehicles to avoid capture. There was speculation that the assailants might have been foreigners, but no concrete evidence or witness testimony surfaced to substantiate this claim. The police immediately launched a homicide investigation, treating the case as a targeted and premeditated attack. As they delved deeper into the circumstances surrounding Fujimoto's murder, they began to draw connections to another violent incident that had occurred just months earlier, on December 14, 2011. In that incident, 20 men had stormed another Roppongi club, attacking 4 individuals with beer bottles and blunt objects, leaving one of the victims severely injured. Investigators suspected that both attacks might be linked to the Kanto Rengo, an organized network of gang members known for their extreme violence. Unlike traditional Yakuza organizations, Kanto Rengo was not classified as a designated organized crime group, which meant they operated with a degree of impunity, facing fewer legal restrictions compared to more established criminal syndicates. Their reputation for carrying out violent assaults with little regard for collateral damage made them particularly dangerous. The Kanto Rengo group had gained notoriety for their brutal methods, and their involvement in the December attacks suggested that they were capable of orchestrating large-scale, coordinated assaults. Given the similarities between the two incidents, both involving sudden, unprovoked attacks in nightclubs, police considered the possibility that Fujimoto's murder was another act of retribution or a power play within the shadowy world of Tokyo's underworld. As the investigation continued, the police faced significant challenges. The masked attackers left behind little evidence, and the chaotic environment of the nightclub made it difficult to gather reliable witness statements. Moreover, the speculation that the assailants could be foreigners added a layer of complexity, as it raised questions about whether the crime was connected to international criminal networks or if it was a localized act of violence. Despite these obstacles, the murder of Ryosuke Fujimoto sent shockwaves through Tokyo, particularly within the elite social circles he was a part of. The violent nature of the crime and the apparent ease with which the attackers carried out their plan raised concerns about the growing influence of non-traditional criminal organizations like Kanto Rengo. It also highlighted the vulnerability of even the most successful and well-connected individuals to sudden targeted violence. The tragedy of Fujimoto's death left a deep scar on the city's nightlife, prompting discussions about the need for increased security in entertainment venues and the potential dangers lurking beneath Tokyo's glamorous exterior. It also brought to light the darker side of the city's underworld, where power struggles and vendettas could erupt into deadly violence, leaving ordinary citizens and even high-profile figures like Fujimoto caught in the crossfire. In the aftermath of the murder, the police continued their pursuit of justice, seeking to uncover the full extent of the connections between the December attack and Fujimoto's murder. They aimed to dismantle the networks responsible for these brutal crimes, hoping to prevent further bloodshed. Yet, the investigation faced numerous hurdles, as the shadowy nature of groups like Kantorengo made it difficult to penetrate their ranks and bring the perpetrators to justice. As the influence of traditional Yakuza groups waned in Japan, a new entity began to rise, filling the vacuum left by the old guard. This group was known as Kanto Rengo, a violent and loosely organized syndicate that operated primarily in the Shibuya and Roppongi districts of Tokyo. Formed in 1973 and officially disbanded in 2013, Kanto Rengo became infamous for its involvement in various criminal activities and for its sheer brutality, which distinguished it from the more structured Yakuza organizations. Kantorengo first caught the attention of the media and the public following the Ichikawa Ebizo assault case. Ebizo, a renowned kabuki actor and considered a modern-day aristocrat in Japan, became the unwitting target of a violent altercation in 2010. While dining at a Tokyo restaurant, Ebizo, heavily intoxicated, began to playfully harass a stranger, bouncing his head like a basketball. The stranger, however, was no ordinary person. He was the leader of Kanto Rengo. In retaliation for Ebizo's behavior, one of Kanto Rengo's members, a man with a history of violence, including a murder committed in his youth, brutally assaulted the actor, fracturing his face. The attack on Ebizo became a media sensation, with the story dominating headlines for weeks. It also exposed the ruthless nature of Kanto Rengo, a group that operated without regard for societal norms and was willing to commit acts of extreme violence to assert its dominance. The incident marked the beginning of Kanto Rengo's rise to infamy, as the public began to realize the extent of their reach and the threat they posed. Kanto Rengo's notoriety was further cemented when the group faced a potential crisis. Several key members were arrested, putting the organization on the brink of dissolution. It was during this precarious time that a young leader emerged from the shadows to breathe new life into the group. Mitate Shinichi, just 16 years old at the time and the leader of a notorious motorcycle gang, declared his intention to rejuvenate Kanto Rengo. He soon earned the nickname the Prince of Cruelty for his cold-blooded approach to leadership. Shinichi was no ordinary delinquent. He was highly intelligent, scoring consistently over 145 on IQ tests administered during his multiple stints in juvenile detention centers. His intelligence, however, was coupled with a propensity for extreme violence. Shinichi was known for abducting his enemies, subjecting them to horrific torture, and even blinding them. His reign of terror within Kanto Rengo was marked by a series of violent acts that solidified the group's reputation as one of the most feared in Tokyo. However, Kanto Rengo was not without its enemies. One of the group's most significant rivalries was with the Kimura brothers, Taichiro and Kojiro. The brothers, who were involved in organized crime, had a bitter feud with Shinichi. The animosity between them reached a boiling point when the Kimura brothers allegedly orchestrated the murder of Shinichi's closest friend. The killing was brutal, but the police were unable to gather sufficient evidence to charge the brothers, leaving the case unsolved and fueling Shinichi's desire for revenge. Shinichi vowed to kill Kimura Kojiro, the younger of the two brothers, using the same method, an aluminum baseball bat, that had claimed the life of his friend. However, the Kimura brothers, aware of Shinichi's intentions, went into hiding, making it difficult for him to track them down. It took Shinichi 4 long years of planning and waiting before he finally saw an opportunity to strike. On September 2, 2012, Shinichi received information that Kojiro would be at Flower, a famous nightclub in Roppongi. Seizing the moment, Shinichi gathered 9 of his most loyal members and headed to the club. The atmosphere inside Flower was electric, with over 300 patrons enjoying a music event. The noise and chaos of the club provided the perfect cover for what was about to unfold. Shinichi and his men stormed the VIP room where they believed Kojiro was located. Without hesitation, they began their assault, mercilessly beating the man inside with aluminum baseball bats. The attack was relentless, targeting the victim's head with the intent to kill. Despite the club being packed with people, the noise and isolation of the VIP room meant that no one outside realized the horror that was occurring until it was too late. The victim suffered severe skull fractures and massive hemorrhaging, leading to his death from brain injuries. However, as the dust settled, a horrifying truth emerged. The man they had killed was not Kimura Kojiro. The victim was, in fact, Ryosuke Fujimoto, a 31-year-old restaurateur who bore an unfortunate resemblance to Kojiro. Like Kojiro, Fujimoto had darker skin and a limp due to a previous injury. These similarities led to the fatal case of mistaken identity. Rumors soon spread that the entire incident had been a setup, orchestrated by Kojiro to lure Shinichi into a trap. It was speculated that Kojiro had deliberately leaked false information about his whereabouts, knowing that Shinichi would act on it. If true, it was a masterstroke of deception, one that not only saved Kojiro's life, but also put Shinichi and his organization in a precarious position. The murder of Ryosuke Fujimoto placed Shinichi in a difficult situation. The police, aided by surveillance footage, quickly launched a manhunt for those involved. Over the following weeks, they arrested 18 people connected to Kanto Rengo, including several who had been present at the club on the night of the attack. However, Shinichi, the mastermind behind the assault, managed to evade capture. Reports suggested that he fled to Southeast Asia, likely the Philippines, shortly after the incident. Out of the 18 arrested, 3 were released due to insufficient evidence, but the remaining 15 faced prosecution and were convicted for their roles in the attack. With their leader in hiding and many of their members behind bars, Kanto Rengo began to unravel. The group's eventual dissolution was as much a result of internal chaos as it was due to the relentless pressure from law enforcement. While Shinichi's current whereabouts remain unknown, there have been sporadic reports of his presence in various parts of Southeast Asia. Some believe he may have secretly returned to Japan, living under the radar to avoid detection. As one of Japan's most wanted fugitives, a reward of 6 million yen has been offered for information leading to his capture. The police continue to pursue leads, hoping to bring Shinichi to justice and close the chapter on one of Japan's most violent criminal organizations. The rise and fall of Kanto Rengo, particularly under the leadership of Mitate Shinichi, serve as a stark reminder of the volatility and violence that can emerge in the power vacuums left by the decline of more traditional criminal organizations. The group's legacy is one of terror and bloodshed, leaving a trail of victims and unanswered questions in its wake. Shinichi's story, marked by a mix of intelligence, brutality, and vengeance, remains an ominous footnote in the history of Japan's criminal underworld.